It's my honor to be here and to spend some time with you folks and learn from you. A little bit about me. Ironically, I thought I would know a lot more people here than I do. I have a couple of people I think remotely, as well as a couple here in the audience. But thank you for coming. I have spent my entire career, which you can look at me and sort of figure out how long that is, doing Agile. And if Jeff Sutherland was here, he'd say, well, Scrum wasn't even invented until whenever. And so therefore it's impossible. However, I started my career doing lean in manufacturing. And I worked in consulting for PwC back then. We go into manufacturing plants, we do process flow diagrams, i.e. value stream diagrams. We look at lead times, process times, quality, and we redesign the process, we relay out the process, we get a lot of the work in process out of process. Cycle times would go down, quality would go up, productivity would go up. It was amazing. But the bottom line is, that's really what Agile is about as well. Somebody I was talking to before we all came in here, sorry, Kyle says, I don't know anything about Agile. Of course you do. Agile is batch versus single piece flow. Right? Every day we make decisions on batch or single piece flow. You're gonna go to Costco and buy a whole bunch of stuff and save a lot of money, or you're gonna go down to the convenience store and buy the milk that your kid needs for his cereal in the morning. Right? We're making a decision of time versus cost. That's Agile. I mean, we call it Agile, but you can call it many things, but that's really all that it's about. So I will claim that anyone with any experience in life has already made a lot of these decisions. You just need to think about a framework by which to make those decisions. So after I did consulting, I joined EMC Corp in the 90s. EMC Corp was an amazing growth company. I was hired in as a process engineer, a manager, and sure enough, we did plant layouts, figured out the flow, did supply chain management stuff, got a lot of inventory out of the system, and scaled manufacturing. In those days, it was more about scaling than anything, and we scaled like crazy. I took over a couple of other organizations very quickly, just because of my Agile principles that I was applying in continuous improvement and demonstrating that people could be happy, we could make product, we could grow, and we can do it with actually less people than we used to do it with, and with better quality than we used to do it with, and with shorter cycle times. And so leadership loved that, and I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. They asked me to take over not only process engineering, they asked me to take over production. So all of a sudden I have 12 managers, have to hire a bunch more, 125 techs. We got to hire another 25 people every single quarter. A few years later, there was 350 people in my organization. And it's just from implementing Agile, doing the right things, listening to the people, what's slowing your work down. Let's get these impediments out of the way. Materials became a big problem. Material control was a huge problem. We had so much freaking inventory, it was crazy. Then they asked me to take over inventory. Same thing, Agile principles. We didn't call them that then, but we call it's the same thing. So then I moved around, it's like my career in manufacturing, it's like, I'm not gonna be able to make any more improvements. This is my life. I have to be able to make improvements. And so instead of continuing to grow in the whole management chain, which they did offer me to do, I decided instead to start moving around the functional areas of EMC, and initially in IT as portfolio manager to help them streamline IT operations, because everybody hated IT because nobody ever answers the tickets to be open, and the answer to the phone takes a half an hour. So I went in there, I went in other departments, customer service, some other places, and using the exact same principles. Look at the process end to end. Just look at the process. Look at the customers. Figure out the metrics, delivery metrics, most important. And figure out how to streamline. Figure out how many resources you need to support customer service or IT or whatever it happens to be. Furthermore, put things in a lean order. Don't do, 16 or 20 different IT projects at once. Figure out how to do one at a time. So a lot of this was before the Agile movement even came around. And so anyway, after I moved around different departments, the president of EMC's division, Symmetrics division. EMC was started with Symmetrics product, and it was always the flagship product. It's the only product of EMC that was not an acquisition. So they had a large product development organization, 1,500 people. So because I had worked with engineering, but I knew everybody there pretty much. They asked me, the president actually asked me, he says, we have a real delivery problem. It takes us years to get product to market. I'd like to ask you to figure out how to apply all these principles that you're doing in the other operations to get our new product out of the door. This is hardware with these huge circuit boards and all these components on them, disk drives, frames, wiring. Product itself, the cost of the product was almost $1 million. Cabinets, so disk drives, basically for enterprise data storage. Hardware, firmware, software, and we'd already scaled manufacturing. Now actually the market is becoming more competitive. We're starting to be confronted by disruptors, right? We're no longer the leader in the industry. And we still need to be on this technology roadmap of Intel, which is new chips every 18 months and twice the speed and half the cost and all that stuff. We don't stay on that roadmap, you're fried. So we were having trouble with that. And so this is where I got into really learning about Agile. I had a colleague there introduce me to a YouTube video from Google when they were getting trained by the Papandaics, right? On like, this Agile stuff actually applies to software. And how do we do it? How can we do it successfully? And so I was lucky enough, again, to be in that position to grow with, and we implemented all sorts of great stuff, including Scrum. Scrum was not the only thing, though. When you have firmware and you have 1,500 people and 7 million lines of code to stabilize, and it used to take 3 months to stabilize, it's like there's all these different constraints of every company that we work with. And so you have to figure out how to apply these principles and what's going to give you the most, the most bang for the buck, the lowest hanging fruit, divided by, based on the investment that it's going to take, and figure out how to implement, give the people the capacity that you can garner to get the system to run more effectively. And so then eventually Dell came around and acquired EMC, and they part of their strategy is everything is commodity, we don't need engineering anymore. And so it was time for me to leave. And I joined the Agile consulting community. Yay. I was invited actually by one of the teachers of one of the classes I was taking to come and join him. And so I was exposed to what I will claim is a very successful transformation, 12 months, 4 coaches, a $2 billion company, 35 teams, and one of the things I didn't really like about this, but it did work, we'll talk about this a little bit later, is it was safe by the book. Right? It was the leader of the transformation had agreement from senior management, we're going to implement these practices, period. And the bottom line is, from a business standpoint, they did work. From a people standpoint, it caused a lot of pain. Some people left. So, then I joined Eliason Group, worked there for 5 or 6 years, exposed to lots of transformations, got the benefit of seeing and learning a lot of different things that do work, a lot of things that don't work. And I learned a huge amount there. And I decided eventually that I had grown. My growth always goes like this, and then it goes like this. And so I wasn't learning so much. So I decided about a year ago to leave there, a year and a half ago, actually now. And sure enough, I'm still working for them as a contractor, even though I tried to leave them. But it's been wonderful. So that's a little background. I've always been a learner.
I've always been wanting to learn absolutely as much as I possibly could. And go ahead.
Maybe not go past this line because it's easier for remote people to hear you and see you.
Oh, sure.
So stay within those.
Oh. Hi, remote people. We're not forgetting you. All right, so enough about this. So this talk came out of a talk that I did the last few years. I made my rounds. I didn't come here, but I came to different Agile communities and shared this talk, my last talk with them. It was, the title of the talk was Waterfall or Agile. Subtitle was Wrong Question. And we eventually got into the discussion about leadership. So this is an evolution of that same discussion. And we have the word mindset in the title here. What I have learned in the last couple years is that Agile transformation is really about mindset. It's not so much about all these practices that we learn. The practices are all good to learn. You got to figure out when it makes sense to apply them. But it's the mindset that matters if your goal is to really transform. And furthermore, I didn't include this in the main title. It is in the subtitle, but I didn't update the slide in time. Subtitle of this is The Future of Leadership. Because I believe firmly, having worked in all these different engagements, that it's not the practices, it is the mindset. Not only the mindset of the people who are doing the work and helping with the transformation, but the mindset of leadership as well. So that's my very short introduction. So let me make this thing work.
There you go.
Or did it? There we go. Future of Agile leadership. So let me just go through this slides quickly. Where's my watch so I don't get too far behind? Hang on 1 second. Let's do it. All right. I'm not supposed to go past that line, but my thing doesn't work. All right. So if everyone can grab a paper and pencil and write down on your paper what you went through during COVID, like what principles do you want to stand behind, that you do stand behind now, that you didn't stand behind then? What are your new demands after you experienced COVID? So the question is, what are your new demands since COVID? I'd like to get, I'm not going to embarrass anyone. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. I just want you to write down, can I get everyone engaged here so we're all.
With regard to work or with regard to.
Anything, life, work, home, anything. What has changed? What are your new demands? Write it down, please. We're gonna have just another 30 seconds. We need to time box like all good Scrum Masters do. All right, everybody have it written down, including you people on the remote thing. Where do I look? Is through here?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Through there?
Yeah.
Your remote guys, you all have something written down, right? All right, somebody on remote, can you call out a name on remote? We're gonna ask for somebody to share with us what they have.
I can go, Bob,
Maybe you put it in the chat.
Daniel.
Nobody has put it in the chat.
Nobody's put it in the chat. Come on, somebody's out there.
Yes. one remote person, in. The need to be remote due to family commitments.
Needs to be remote due to family. Can everybody hear this? Is that turned on? Needs to be, okay, you got it.
Sorry about that. Need to be remote due to health challenges.
Okay,
Work remote, no longer eat inside of restaurants. Some of the examples.
okay. How about a couple examples from in here? Yes,
Simplify.
Simplify. Life was too complicated. Others. Yes? People first. Kyle.
Teams meetings.
Teams, yeah, teams. And Zoom.
More control over my time.
More control over our time. Who's one of that?
Yeah, wearing a mask when you're not well is okay.
Wearing a mask, yeah, very good. A couple more.
Handwriting, you're planning on the sticky notes,
Handwriting.
writing the sticky notes now, we have access to the online boards.
Thank you.
And empowering me to make my own decisions.
Empowered to make their own decisions. One more.
Online transactions, every business should have something online, I shouldn't have to walk into it.
Everything online, everything is online, yes. All right, so I'm gonna claim that a lot of our deliberations has made us think about what is the purpose of our lives? Why are we here? And there's a nice saying that actually my sister shared with me. The meaning of life is your gift. So my meaning of life is I love to learn. Your purpose of life is to give it to others. So my purpose in life is to help each other learn. And I do that through my clients, through my colleagues, through my family, and I recently, a couple of years ago, started a robotics team for the high school kids. And I just love working with everybody, whoever they are, just helping them learn. That's my only goal, is to help other people. So I ask you to think about your purpose in life. I'm gonna just go through a couple of these. You guys already articulated a lot of these. So we now want to work from home. That used to be a career limiting move. And today, well, at least during the pandemic, it became the norm. Now some of the companies are asking us to come back. So we have this elastic effect, we've done so far and now we're coming back a little bit. Another one, we used to only get 5 sick days a year. And everybody just kept them and went to work sick because they wanted more days to go on vacation if they wanted. Now it's like, no, stay home if you're sick. Don't come to work, for the most part. I know there's exceptions. So anyway, you can read through this, but I will claim the one at the bottom, motivation. I think that leaders and people care more about the intrinsic motivators than they are working for pay, promotion, careers. I believe that this is true. I've seen more people in my own family as well as colleagues. They literally, it's time to switch jobs. This job's not cutting it for me anymore. I need one more aligned with my family, more aligned with my purpose in life. And that is a decision based on purpose, not based on promotion, pay, all that other stuff. I have relatives actually in Sweden who we just visited just over the weekend, actually. We were not in Sweden, they were here. But my sister-in-law was sharing with me that all of her adult children, they're all like switching jobs, they're constantly looking for new opportunities. It's no longer that career thing going on. Now we're in a gig economy. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but people are not as much looking at that career. So
another thing to write down on your sheet of paper. What is the purpose of your organization? And my sub-question is, does it include genuine, not just lip service, but genuine stakeholder satisfaction? So if you can write that down on a piece of paper, if you're not currently with an organization, put it down on your last organization. What is the purpose of your organization? Okay. So we'll let the remote people get caught up here while we take some internal answers. Who would like to share? Anybody want to share? Nobody wants to share. Come on. We're not going to tell your boss.
No, I can tell.
Go ahead.
Providing the world-class child care in the pediatric hospital.
World-class childcare, that's an awesome purpose. I love that purpose. Can I come work for your company?
Anytime.
Nice, awesome. I have come there. Anyone else? Bruce?
They work for was trying to cure cancer.
That's a great purpose. Yes,
They were trying to maximize profit.
there, that's the bad one. For who? Why do you want to maximize profit for the employees? No, not the, like for the owners, right? The owners, they want the profit. They want the profits maximized so they can make a lot of money. That's actually a bad motivator. It doesn't work very long. So that's an extrinsic. Other ones.
Make organizations safe.
Make the organizations stay.
Other organizations.
You mean safety, like a product safety? It doesn't blow up in your face? Like National Grid kind of stuff? Or like a vaccine, maybe?
Public security. Ransomware doesn't work against your organization, for example.
All right, so keep these in mind. Actually, one person from remote, what do we have on the remote channel?
Again, from them. Former company's purpose was to enrich the lives of our members by providing them with the products, value, and experiences they deserve. Lynn, come on now. Chuck O'Leary says, create innovative and reliable software that meets or exceeds user expectations, drive business growth, and continuously advance our expertise in what we do.
All right, so we can, the purpose, the mission, sometimes it's articulated different ways. But the purpose of us has changed through COVID. The purpose of our organizations, and maybe now we're looking more for organizations and departments with purpose that's more aligned with our own purpose in mind. So here's the typical history of a large organization. Started out just a few people. They had a great product. It was successful. They had to hire. So instead of just hiring like more team members, they decided, all right, well, you're good at manufacturing, you're good at product design, you're good at other stuff. So why don't you go hire people and build a department? So now what happened? Now we still are very successful. We're efficient. We're organized. We have budgets in our departments. And we're producing a blockbuster product. And everything's great. Until what happens? We get confronted with change, any kind of change. It could be a market downturn, it could be a competitor, it could be new technology, it could be new government, anything. But the bottom line is our process is so efficient. We do everything in lot size of 1 million pieces at a time. And we can't change that easily. So change is what, the ability to absorb any kind of change is what Agile is about. If we don't need to change, we'll just keep growing and reducing cost in all these departments. The problem is the departments are designed to optimize the department costs, not to optimize the end-to-end system. The end-to-end system is the delivery. You have to invent it. Yeah, well, if you're manufacturing, you procure it, you assemble it, you test it, you ship it. Maybe that's your end-to-end, guys. If you're product development or software development, you gotta come up with an idea. Then you figure out the design, then you gotta code it or build it or whatever kind of product you're making. And then you gotta test it, then you gotta ship it, and that takes time. And if you have all these different departments, you could be like 3 months of requirements. Right, so we want to collapse that time and get the teams to work together. And that's what cross-functional teams are. So that we can communicate. And we can deliver the whole thing all together. So that's the Agile system. That's what Scrum is. So the long lead times drives inflexibility. How come this thing is... So, next question. Who's heard of the cost of delay? Don Reinertson. Maybe you heard it from Dean Level. Don Reinertson is the one. Cost of delay, economic model, we are delayed in shipping our new product. Or in, like, if we're a car manufacturer, we're still making those gasoline powered cars, but the only thing that's selling is the electric vehicles. I want to ask you guys this question because there's a lot of cost models that are out there and they don't even think about cost of delay. We confront this with our clients probably every day, every one of us. So what is the cost of delay? Like if you don't ship your software, your project, whatever you're working on, by the deadline, what happens to the business? So I want you to write down, what is your cost of delay? And try to quantify it, like how big of a deal is it? Is it gonna wipe the whole business out if you don't deliver on time, or is it gonna, you know, you're already in the marketplace, you're just gonna be a month late? And while you're thinking about that and writing that down, I wanna ask you, for your industry, what areas of that industry are changing the fastest? Is it supply? Is it customer demand? Is it new products? Is it legal? Like laws are coming out? Like what is changing? What is impacting your business? Maybe you can look back over the last 12 months or longer. And like we have clients in industry in the railroad business, right? We've been doing railroads forever. Where are they going to apply Agile? So your industry, what part of your industry is needs to be able to change the most? When you're ready, please write down at least one area. We're gonna go around the room again and just take answers. Okay, who wants to share? Nobody wants. Oh, we have a taker. What's your name?
Megan.
Megan, do we have a microphone for Megan? Yeah. Here, I can bring it over.
So which question did you want me to answer?
Let's hear it from both.
Okay, so the cost of delay, so if we don't ship on time, a lot of it is reputational damage. There's a lot of, what's also interesting is internal reputation damage. So if our product doesn't deliver on time, it's not so much that our customers get upset about it, it's the people selling our product get upset about it and then don't trust us to deliver on time the next time. So that's the biggest cost for us of shipping.
You've quantified.
Not very well, because they don't tell me.
It's very hard to quantify.
Yeah.
Say you lose 1 point of market share, what's that?
$5 million.
So millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And what's the budget for your project?
I don't know.
Probably not that much.
No, not that.
Sometimes it could be the same number. But the bottom line is, these are big numbers. So your second question.
Yeah, so the area of my industry that has accelerating changes right now is that our customers are changing their budgets on how much they're willing to spend on this type of product. So maybe 3 years ago, they had more budgets to spend on this, and it's really software security. So it's something that they can choose to spend on or not choose to spend on depending on their risk tolerance. So if they say, okay, we're willing to accept more risk and not spend the money, then that's the biggest area of change that's happening for us right now, is the market is decreasing in size, increasing in size, and it depends on just external driving factors.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great example. Someone else want to share? Nobody wants to share.
Let's see. Himanshu says, in computing AI. No, he's not. In computing, AI ML is a huge change and is accelerating changes in many other industries. So,
AI is the big change, in
AI,
fact. Yes, I think we all recognize that. Kyle? It was, here, I can bring it to.
There you go.
So we're in construction, so some cost of delays could be back charged from holding up a construction project. We're not likely to lose a customer, but if we were to damage our reputation in the long term, we could potentially lose customers that could go to other products. It could be millions of dollars of losses. Possibly.
And also the customer who's waiting for you to come there next.
Right.
Their schedule just got pushed, so they also get the wait. All right, I'm gonna share with you my answers here. So here's the general categories. I've actually been asked by my current client to help them develop this model for their own training internally so that their leaders can make decisions more factoring in the cost of your life. So the ones on the surface are first mover advantage. If you're establishing a new market, you're there first, you can get lots of market share points, maybe 100% of them. You can test and define new markets. You have a little bit of time, a lean startup, Eric Ries, like you're going in, you're defining a new game program. If you can pivot based on exactly what the customers need on, week by week basis, sprint by sprint basis, you can satisfy that market a whole lot more easily. And so you get a viable business out of it. You can pivot or persevere. With delays, you have loss of market share due to disruptors. You have lower life cycle volumes. Life cycle profits actually is an economic measurement introduced by Ryerson again. He's the economist, if you haven't read his book, and you like economics and product development. He's the author to read. Life cycle profits is a much better measure than just annual revenue or annual profits or costs or other things.
Like, it just brings everything together. Life cycle profits is a good way to measure the impact of the cost of a delay. So
What is life cycle? What is that?
it's the, over the life of the product, maybe it's gonna last for 5 years before you're gonna replace it with something else. You will make so much profit each year, and you add that up. So it's life cycle profit. And there's cost to develop the product, there's profits when you sell it, there's the whole 9 yards, if you really understood what that entire revenue, cost and revenue stream was through the whole thing, which you can't possibly do that when you're at the beginning, it's, that's really what we're talking about. So some of the other impacts are lower margins, lower earnings, and these are real business impacts. They're hard to see and not very transparent, unless you really get into all the financials and all that stuff that most of us engineer people know. But there's lower earnings and price earnings ratios in the stock market, right? Stock price is a function of earnings, is a function of profits, is a function of all this stuff. So it's very impactful. The last impact is people lose jobs, including executives. If executives are responsible for a big program and the program goes late, they will lose their jobs. I've seen it time and again at EMC. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Those are not the stories that get published widely, but that is what happens. So, Anthem, I ran into somebody at one of these meetings. Can't quite remember his name. He shared the story of Anthem. It's really interesting. Anthem today, 60% of all claims for Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance companies. Huge. They started 20 years ago, roughly now. And all they had was a dream. We can make a claims processor that can be like automatic 90+% of the time. Industry standard was 60%. Did they develop that entire product and roll it out to all Blue Cross Blue Shields? See if it's viable? No. They figured out one physician group, one type of diseases, a small number of treatment codes, and they tested it. Their hypothesis was, can we hit 90%? And they came back with 95%. They're like, yeah, we have good business here. Let's go a little bit wider then. Let's make it a little bit bigger. This is Agile. We're testing stuff with a small investment. We're testing our hypothesis. We're seeing if it can grow. And in this case, it became a huge company. So that's the inverse of cost of delay. That's like if you execute well with Agile, small deliverable, very quickly, get some answers, now you can grow. The last line item actually does come from EMC. We had a major GA miss. General availability, product announcement, EMC World, 8,000 customers coming, $5 billion revenue stream. You say, sorry, we're not going to be able to make the product available by then. So you have to announce some other product. So what does that do? That impacts your market share, all those things that I was doing. And my back of the envelope calculation on that, $1 billion of life cycle. These things happen. This is impactful big time. So we really need to be aware of the cost of delay. Hence the case for Agile. Did you have a question?
A question online. Suppose you can avoid delay in your product rollout by either making it with fewer features or making it with poorer quality. How would you make the trade-off among the three? That.
So what you do is you follow Tesla's example. Let's make a 2-seater convertible. It's going to cost $200,000. We're only going to make 100 of them. And the quality is gonna suck, so we're gonna have to send our engineers to your garage and they call it a quality incident. The bottom line is you get the product to market, any feature, the most valuable feature. You test it. You get market feedback, and then you say, hey, that, you know, it gave us a lot of information. It's not the high volume production Tesla that we're gonna sell, but it gave us the information. There is a market for EVs. So let's figure out what the next model is gonna look like. So now instead of 200,000, this one's only 125,000. But instead of making 100, we're gonna make 1,000 of these things. And they roll out with the next model. And now Tesla today has redefined the entire auto industry. Right? That's agile. And yes, sometimes you come with bad quality, but you know what? The quality doesn't matter when you're testing the market. And what was there was another question. Features, all the features. You don't have all the features. You introduce whatever you need to introduce to test the market. So this is the business case for Agile. We need to understand our cost to delay better. So I was at one of these events and Jeff Sutherland shared a statistic that I didn't believe when he said it, but I think it's true today. He said some very large number, and I think it was 80%, 90%, something like that, of companies that claim they're doing Agile, and they're really not. We call this checkbox Agile. We're doing all the ceremonies, I'm done. You got your return on your investment for your project. This is a problem in our industry. We need to recognize this as a problem, and we need to figure out how to solve this. So I heard this 5 years ago or so when I was first at Elias Group, and I'm like, I gotta test his theory. And so I have recently come to the conclusion that these statements here are correct. And I want you guys to refute me and let's collaborate and come up with a real answer. But Agile is a mindset. It is not a process. Even though I was a process engineer and manager, and processes do start to fix things, but it's a framework to think and to get feedback and to discuss your problems and to see what's slowing you down and to get those impediments out of the way, whatever they are, whether they're at the team level or whether they're at the leadership level. And so if we don't see it as a mindset, we can claim that we're done. And we got nowhere. So the way to check this, if somebody claims it, you can just ask them casually, make them think it's a different topic. What did you learn today? If they're not constantly learning, they're not implementing Agile. They're not Agile. We need to be constantly learning, and we need to have an environment to constantly learn. So now 5 years, 6 years have passed, whatever it is. I've been in a bunch of transformations. So I will say that Jeff was right. There's a large percentage, more than half, that transformations are just checkbox. Everybody knows what taco is, right? Terms and ceremonies only. Okay, just want to make sure. Checkbox Agile. It's a problem in our industry. We as practitioners and professionals in our industry need to figure out how to solve this problem. So I have been the beneficiary of a couple of transformations, more than, but not more than 10. This is not a big number. Where we had very strong leadership that sat through the training classes, that sat through all the major decisions, that came to the sprint reviews, that removed the impediments for the team, that really created that open environment for understanding why you might want to question the cost model or whatever it is that's making you make bad decisions. So This is a special kind of transformation. And it does require, in the beginning, when you're setting the stage, like whoever's talking to these leaders about, do you want to do this transformation stuff or not? You have to let them know what the risks are. Don't just take their check and go do agile stuff. That's just checkbox set. You want them engaged all the time. These leaders in the beginning of the transformation, they're talking with the coaches every day. Not once a week, not once a sprint, every day. They want to know what's going on. This is a major change. This is a transformation. That's where the word comes from. So other stuff over here, these are projects. This is transformation. Now, this very last part of the curve, who knows what 3 sigma is? What's that? 2.8%. It's a small percentage, very small, 1 incident in my case. How many people have read Frederick Laloux? Self-organizing, self-managing teams. He studies the sounds really boring. Went through business school and hated organizational stuff. But he studied like these hierarchy organizations. They have all these people that make all these decisions and all this process, and all poor people down here that just have to take direction. That's what our big companies have grown. And he studies, actually I have a little bit more detail on it in a minute. This one team is actually my robotics team. These kids, it was during COVID. Kids in the neighborhood put a thing in what's up Wellesley. It said, we're looking for a mentor and we're looking for space. So I said, hey, I'm an engineer. I like this build stuff. I'll be your mentor and your space person. We have a 3-car garage, has some built in hell, well, it's a nice garage, it's also the basement. My wife didn't really like it, but we gave them the first day, the first year, and now they have all 3 days, of course. But their mission statement was they wanted to be a student-led team. Mentors are only going to be here for the legal stuff, because we got to set up a 501c3 to raise money because we're a nonprofit. So we need to have an adult sign a form and open the bank account. So that's how we operated all the way through till today. Student-led organization. They make all the decisions. And of course, I want to impose Agile on them. And we did teach them a little bit of that. I have another Agile coach actually. She went through all the trainings. But the teams, they did implement, they don't call them this, 1 meeting per week. It's the sprint review, and it's basically it's the sprint review, they don't call it that. But they demo the work that they finished, and they plan the work that they're going to do next. And then they also have one other meeting with the leaders, which is similar to the parents. It's really an administration. All their other meetings, guess where they are? They're virtual. Well, they do meet in the garage, but all their decisions, like they're on Discord. Anybody use Discord? It's unbelievable. They have 30 channels on Discord, and there's conversations going on there right now. There's like 15 conversations going on right now. 24/7, they're working. And they're not paid to work. So anyway, this team, over the years, actually last year, I took over lead mentor role because the other parent had graduated. And we went to competition. We finally had a robot that was actually competitive the first time. Years previous, it was awesome that we made a viable robot and picked stuff up and stuff, but it didn't compete in that. It was like last place, small batches. This last season was phenomenal because it was student-led, but also we really engaged the engineers a little bit when they started to define the laws of physics. We said, hey, you know what, you can calculate that stuff. And so we took a little bit of that student stuff away from them. But they perform, they're doing fundraising, marketing, website, they're recruiting, they're training new kids to come on, they're like all this stuff, it's amazing, and there's 50 kids all there. It's amazing all this stuff. And they're competitive to the degree where they're literally top 30% in every competition that we went to, including we made it to the district championships of New England. Against 250 teams, we were one of the top 90, and then we competed there, and we were divided into 2 of 45 each. We were 18th out of 45. Like, this team just every match, it was like better. And I give a lot of the credit to that, to the fact that these guys are a truly and highly self-organizing and self-managing. And so this is how I see the world now in terms of patterns of transformation. And I will claim that the difference is this. We either have a fixed culture or we have a flow culture where we really think of, like, these kids, there's a question on Discord, and within a minute, somebody else is answering the question. Talk about cycle time, decision latency, right? I mean, I can show it to you if you want to see it. It's amazing. It's mind-boggling to me. You know, sometimes I don't want to see my kid up at 3 in the morning, like answering questions, but you know, that's how it is. Bruce.
So, this is one example. You've said that there's other examples of companies, sorry. There's other examples of companies that have done this. So those companies that have been successful in implementing Agile as a mindset should be leaders in their industries.
Mhm.
So is that correlation observable? Has anyone tried to figure that out?
So some of these were not the entire organization, just part of it. So in those cases, absolutely yes. Actually, in all of those cases, absolutely yes. And in fact, jealousy because of it. Jealousy of the other departments, such that the other departments are asking, what can we do, like, to implement the same stuff so that we can also get better and eventually grow up to the organization. Right. Other questions? All right, so I want to give you guys some references. And actually, I'll give you all of my acknowledgements and references at the end. So Dave Marquette in the submarine video that we've all seen, leadership has to decentralize decisions for Agile to work. We have to empower people to make decisions. He in his video, I'm assuming you've all seen it, I'll give you the reference actually, Tony Shipwreck. He builds a case, and it's a true story, that you can give guidance, the right guidance. And if you have competency, you can lead a much stronger organization than without. I believe that everything that we know about the Agile practices, everything else, we're trying to decentralize decisions so that we can remove that decision latency from the end-to-end system. So part of the problems is how we solve problems. So strong leadership, instead of getting stuck in what I'll call solutioning, whatever the discussion is that's going on, I'm saying when I'm calling the leaderships are also the scrum masters and the product owners. But the people who are doing the work, the real work, knowledge workers, those are the people that we want to be doing the solutions, coming up with a solution. So how do we do that as leaders? Instead of talking about solutions, we want to talk about the problem. Because every problem has many solutions. Some may not be viable. The one that drives me crazy, whenever I hear it, and I hear it too much, we need more resources. We need more people. Guess what? Is that the problem? Is that a solution that can be implemented anytime soon? Well, why are you spending time talking about this? What's the problem? You're not getting enough throughput? Well, what's the impediment? Maybe we can slow something down. There's gotta be more than one. So if you're stuck, please ask yourself, and I've seen this way too much. It's like, I don't know why this is not everybody's reflex yet, but please build it into your own. If you get stuck, like talking about why you can't do a solution, just step back and ask the question, what do you all think the problem is we're trying to solve? And the conversation will change around so quickly. And the bottom line is, we want to see autonomy. We want to let people who are doing the work make the decisions. People have read Arbinger Group. I don't know if you guys have read this stuff. They build a very strong case that leadership, they don't say this, I'll say it, because of the egos that they have, they like to make decisions. Right? They're the smartest people in the room. That's why they got their promotion. But guess what? The people doing the work are the ones who are most knowledgeable. You can go tell them they're the smartest if you want and make them happy. But the knowledgeable people are the ones who are doing the work and that have done it. Right? So let's let them figure out what the solutions are. So this is actually a really good read. It helps you really understand the people. The people are people, they're not just objects. They're here to think, to be creative, to work with each other. And that they are the power that you want to harness in your organization. It's not making decisions. Making decisions is subordinate to empowering people. And this is where autonomy comes in. People want to make decisions. Spotify, we went down and talked to Spotify a little bit. Part of their mission is autonomy. So it's built into their DNA from the beginning. But autonomy, I will claim, is, in addition to purpose, is really what motivates people. And then the next slide, which is similar change. So this is Frederick Lilly. Again on autonomy. So if we can set up an organization that is totally flat, in his case, he did this. Well, he studied this. We had this guy, Jost de Block, created Bert Zorg. Does anybody know the story? Other than the person that read the book. This is a home health aid organization in the Netherlands. Big hierarchy. This is how much time you get to spend with your patient on your first meeting with them. Then you get to go do this, and then you do that. And basically all the directions are coming from above. Employees were very dissatisfied with their work. The customers hated the service. So he decided, you know what? Let's just get a group of 9 nurses out there. Let them be their own boss. We'll give them everything they need to do this experiment. And it worked. Started in 2006, when the book was written, which I'm not sure the date, 9,000 nurses and 60% of all nurse aid industry in the Netherlands is now Bertzer. Total self-organization, total self-management, as flat as you can possibly be. And of course, all the investors want to figure out what the solution is. So you want to get management jobs there, but that defeats the purpose. So then you also have Whole Foods. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. This was written up by Gary Hamel in the early 80s. Before Amazon took Whole Foods away, well, acquired them. And I have no idea what the model was there. Whole Foods market capitalization was 4 times the number of their nearest competitor by the standard ratio, you know, value divided by revenue, stuff like that. Amazon still are. Why? Why were they so successful? They had self-organizing teams. What they did is each department made all of the decisions for that department. If you're the produce department, you decide who your suppliers are. You decide what to provide. You get to talk to your own customers. You get to price. You get to even hire and fire. You get to decide how much shelf space you get in the store. All of these decisions are decentralized to the team. The way that they were able to do that is they came up with this metric. And I think the metric was profitability divided by number of hours clocked in the department. And they calculated that every month. And they created a little distribution chart, who's first, second, third, fourth. And the ones with the top ratio got the bonus check. Not trivial either. These are like hourly workers get a $2,000-3,000 bonus check at the end of the month. By managing your metrics. Self-organization, self-management. So these other supermarkets, they all have like the central buyers and corporate offices making all these decisions. And then I put my robotics team there because I find that they're also good. So the third dimension of motivation is mastery. I heard that in one of the company purpose or mission statements over here, which is actually really good. It's like, we want to grow. People want to grow. I want to grow. This is my goal in life, is to learn. I want to become master. It doesn't matter really what it is, but I want to be a master. And so how do you create mastery and innovate? Like a lot of companies are claiming we're the biggest innovative company in the world. Look at us, we're so great. But what really is innovation? Innovation is when you bring people together with diverse backgrounds and you have an environment that encourages them to share ideas with each other. And sharing those ideas comes up with innovation. It sounds simple, but it's not. In order to make this happen, you have to have a truly psychologically safe environment. You have to be able to challenge the status quo. You guys have heard all of this. I'm just kind of trying to package it all into one place. I'm sure you've seen environments that are not safe and other environments that are safe. But ultimately, and also the whole equal talk in Google's research with the Aristotle project, right? We have this group of people, everybody needs to talk. You can't have one person be quiet. You're not getting ideas from them. So if you're the Scrum Master, you want to have equal talk and active listening. You want everybody listening as well. If you're a leader, you want to be challenged that your cost model or whatever it is driving the wrong behavior. So I have a client that literally their cost model did this to us just recently. It's like we planned out all this Agile thing. We're going to do all these releases instead of the Big Bang thing. The cost model says, release to manufacturing, every time you make a change, it costs $1.5 million. And we can't do it anymore because our cost model says we can't do it. You got to be able to challenge that. If we can't challenge that, we're going to be stuck. So we want that psychological safety. We want mastery. We can't get mastery if our ideas are just going to get shot down. So we need these things. So I will claim that in the future, the most valuable skill for everybody is the skill to learn. if we have the skill to learn coming out of college and we specialized in one major and we decide, you know what, we want to go do another major, we can do that because we can learn about it. Right? If we're in a scrum team and we're all eye-shaped and we're like still like doing design with one guy and coding with the next guy and the testing with the next person, and you don't have the resiliency that you could get if instead people were curious in each other's jobs and each other's work and learning about each other so that they can help each other in ultimately helping the scrum team. So mastery in anything. As I moved around all those different functional areas, I was developing mastery in those different functional areas. So what we want to do in order to kind of reinforce this, because over time some people tend to get a little bit lazy and they stop their curiosity, they stop asking the whys. And I will say as leaders, we want to always encourage this, always encourage the questions. Higher ed, same thing. They're going through a big transformation. They're like, I don't know how to produce the students that industry wants. You want to produce students that know how to learn. That's what you want to do. So I need to keep going. So I think I just have a slide if you will. Yeah, so my claim here, and you're the test audience here. Tell me if I'm crazy. But my belief is that as we engage with leaders and as we're coaching leaders, we want to coach those leaders along certain dimensions and really to develop those dimensions of purpose. We want to always reinforce that purpose and make sure it's aligning with the people that we're working for, and to constantly understand what that cost of delay is. Articulate that regularly so your people are making their decisions based on that. Maintain that environment of safety. Encourage innovation through autonomy. And so, in summary, these are the intrinsic motivators. If you look back at your career, you probably have a very short list of the really good manager. And I promise you that good manager, they were doing this stuff. They might have been doing the other stuff as well. But this is what motivates people. This is what we need to learn how to do. This is what we need to learn how to coach our leadership people that we're working with. And so that will drive higher and higher performance teams and ultimately result in the outcomes and the goals of very successful agile transformation. So that is my theory, and these are my questions, and please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want to chat more, you can follow me on LinkedIn, it's all up to you. And the last slide of this deck, I have a whole bunch of references somewhere. Where to go? Here it is. These are like the big thought leaders that have influenced my life that you can look up independently, or actually I recently, because I like people to learn and I believe in open source, I put together a website that has a lot of these videos and stuff all on it. You can all just go to it, all for free. Just follow the open source copyright agreement and we're all good. So that's, yeah, all done.